So it's 9 p.m. in Art. This time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. We have the head of state receives the president of the African Development Bank. The tests are decentralized for the first times in the region. For the international scene, now North Korea, the country fires a new salvo of 8 ballistic missiles. Welcome to our newsroom. The head of state receives the president of the African Development Bank. The president of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, receives late Sunday morning at the Palace of the Republic the president of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina. The visit of the African Development Bank president to Djibouti is related to the initiations of the more sustained cooperation between the two parties in various areas of development. It is also about defining the assistance that the African Development Bank can provide to the Republic of Djibouti in its ambitions to maximize like the port and logistics sector, all its other prosthetic and economic potential, job creation, renewable energy, and the development of science technology are now defined as a priority sector for cooperation between the Republic of Djibouti and the African Development Bank. The financial empowerment of women, support for youth entrepreneurship, agriculture, and the acquisitions of a true resilience of our countries to the consequences of the phenomenon of climate change have also acquired the studies of a strategic role of collaboration between the two parties. During this audience with the head of the state, Mr. Akinwumi Adesina was accompanied by a high-level delegations including Ms. Nena Wabifo, the African Development Regional Directors on the Djiboutian side, the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry, Ilyas Moussa Dawale, the Minister of Higher Education Research, Dr. Nabil Mohamed Ahmed, the Minister of Agriculture, Water, Fisheries and Livestock Fishery Resources, Mohamed Ahmed Awale, took part in the meeting. Also noted the presence of at this event of the Secretary General of the Presidency, Mohamed Abdullahi Wais, the Secretary General of the Government, Al-Misa Muhammad Abdullahi. And the head of the mission of the head of the African Development Bank, Mr. Akinwumi Adesina, said that it is that we have met the President of the Republic, and it is about the finance, the assistance that the African Development Bank can provide to the Republic of Djibouti in its ambitions to maximize, like the port and logistics sectors, all the provisions and economic potential, job creation, renewable energy, and the development of science technology are now defined as a priority sector for cooperation between the Republic of Djibouti and the African Development Bank. For his part, the Minister of Finance in charge of Industry, Ilyas Moussa Dawale, has said that the financial empowerment of women, support for youth, entrepreneurship, agriculture, and the acquisitions of a true resilience of our country to the consequences of the phenomenon of climate change. And they have also acquired the studies of a strategic pool of a collaboration between the two parties. The first test of the baccalaureate session 2021 in general education began today, Sunday, June 5, 2022, and will continue throughout the week. This year's more than 6,118 candidates from all streams are taking the tests in more than 12 examination centers spread through Djibouti cities and the interior regions. In Djibouti city, the 4 high schools of the capital, Lycée d'État de Djibouti, Kabod, Hodan, and Balbala, and 3 centers housed within the University of Djibouti, as well as the Industrial and Commercial High School, host the tests of the General and Vocational Baccalaureate. It must be said that the MENFOB has put in place a special mechanism to ensure the smooth running of the exams. Teacher and administrative staffs have been mobilized to ensure optimal monitoring and operations and examination center. In this regard, the examination subjects were transported under good police escort thanks to the mobilizations of vehicles and of the National Gendarmerie, which ensured the security and the confidentiality of the batches of envelope that were handed over under the seal to the different heads of examination center under the supervision of the president of the examination board. The Minister of National Education Vocational Training, Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, and his colleagues in charge of decentralization, Qasim Harun Ali, have conducted at hours to supervise the conduct of the baccalaureate test in the region. It should be noted that this is the first time that the baccalaureate tests are held in the regions in accordance with the policy of decentralization of the test of baccalaureate. It is in Dikhil that the ministerial delegation went in this trip, accompanied by a strong delegation. The two ministers began their tours early this morning of Sunday, June 5, 2022, the first day of the writing baccalaureate in test in Dikhil city. The choice of Dikhil is not insignificant since last July. It was from the sub-prefectures of Munud that the two ministers had jointly made their statement for a decentralized baccalaureate from the 2021-2022 session is a titanic and meticulous work of the joint MENFOP and Decentralization Department Committee, followed with a beautiful outcome today. The two ministers visited together the high school of Dikhil, where the baccalaureate is held. Following this, they inspected the accommodation sites for students, but also for teachers. The counting rooms, logistics, and the necessary conditions have been met according to the prefect of the city and the president of the regional council, who explained it in details the achievement made. The officials had very intensive discussions with the head of the center, the teacher who supervise the baccalaureate, parents, and of the students. The discussion is highlighted and confirming the smooth running of the baccalaureate tests. As part of the decentralization test of the Baccalaureate 2022 session, the Minister of National Education, Vocational Training, Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, and his colleagues in charge of decentralization, Qasim Harun Ali, have moved to the interior regions. It is in this capacity of the officials went to Ali Sabih city and its localities from towers of supervision of the conduct of the test of Baccalaureate 2022 in the regions. This year there are some 291 candidates who have presented themselves to the first tests of Baccalaureate 2022. The two ministers and their collaborators visited the examination center in the region of Ali Sabih to see in the sites the outcomes of the meticulous preparation work the MENFOP and the decentralization Ministers Joint Committee have done a remarkable job of setting up the exams, which has resulted in the smooth running of all the tests. The prefect and the president of the regional council guided the officials in their inspections visit to the students' accommodation sites, the school's canteen, and logistics. The minister had lengthy discussions with the teacher and administrative and pedagogical staff to get details of the working conditions. Similar exchanges took place with the head of the center and the parents of the students who confirmed the meticulous preparations of the smooth running of the PAC test. The candidates were able to compose in serenity and peace and mind this first test at home and with their families. The two ministers shared the same satisfactions with the decentralized tests of the Baccalaureate 2022 session. The baccalaureate tests are held in the regions of the interior in accordance with the policy of decentralization of the baccalaureate test in Artas region, accompanied by a strong delegation. The two ministers began their towers early this morning of Sunday, uh, June 5, 2022, the first day of the writing baccalaureate in Arta. The choice of Artas is not insignificant, as this was that the two ministers had jointly made. The two ministers, the Minister of National Education, Vocational Training, Mustafa Muhammad Mahmoud, and the Minister of Decentralization, Qasim Harun Ali, from the session is titanic and meticulous work of the joint MENFOP and Decentralization Committee, followed with a beautiful outcome today. The two ministers visited together the High School of Arta, where the baccalaureate is held. Following this, inspected the accommodation size for the students, but also for the teachers, the accounting rooms, and the logistics. The launch simultaneously in the capital and in the interior regions in Djibouti City this morning. The launch of the work and the launch of the work and workshop of the health symposium. That's the kickoff was given this morning by the Minister of Health by visiting the People's Palace. The various workshops set up as part of these symposiums. First, the objective is an issue of the symposiums will be presented, as well as the analysis of the national situations. Their group work will be on the menu of the day. Finally, the synthesis of the results will be presented, decided at the highest level of the state, and initiated by the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Robli Abdille. The Health Symposium aims to engage in a collective and constructive reflections around the various themes related to health reforms. Indeed, the general objective of the Health Symposium will be to organize public consultation through thematic workshop in order to identify the reforms needed to achieve universal health coverage in Djibouti. For his part, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Robla Abdille, recalled the different works and workshops of the health symposiums set up by the Djiboutian government to protect the Djiboutian population in all its components and on the whole national territory, the universal health coverage and the health systems, the fight against communicable and non-communicable diseases. The preparation and response to health emergencies will be the three major axes during the health symposium. This health event is a first in Djibouti where the opportunities is given to the population to interact and debate with the health professionals for a better health system. The mission in Qatar, the Secretary of State for Sports met the Qatari Minister of Youth and Sports, the Secretary of State in charge of Sports, His Excellency Hassan Mohammed Kamil, and his delegation were received today by the Minister of Youth and Sports, His Excellency Saliban bin Ghanim Al Ali. The audience focused on the several areas, including ways and means to develop and strengthen bilateral cooperation on the file of sports, in addition to several other issues of common interest. The Minister of Youth and Sports, Qatari, reiterated to the Djiboutian counterpart his invitation to take part in the opening ceremony of the World Cup of soccer scheduled for November in Doha. At the end of the visit, the two parties exchanged gifts before the traditional family photo. Among the missions of the National the High Human Rights provided by Law 59 EN 147L July 20, 2014 are the notified visit of the prisoners and places of preventive detentions in the country. It is for these reasons that a strong delegation of the National Commission on Human Rights, led by its President Saliban Omar Udin, went this Sunday, June 5, 2022, in the town of Balbala, successively to the command of the National Gendarmerie Company and the National Police Stations. These regular visits to places of detention in accordance with the provision of Article 11 of the Law 59E and 147L are intended to learn about the conditions of detention, to assess the level of respect for human rights, and to appreciate the means implemented. Fruitful exchanges took place between the delegations and the company commanders of the National Gendarmerie, Captain Hussein Said, and the Colonel Said Absi, company commanders of the National Police. As part of the project of the realizations of the socio-economic infrastructure and the promotions of the economic activity in the region, PARISER, the Djiboutian Social Development Agency, ADDS, organized this morning a training of executives from the ministries, that the city councils and the region, in design, monitoring, evaluations of project. These trainings, which will last until June 14 and at the People's Palace, aims to improve the capacity of the technical management of the project and the promotions of economic activities in the regions. The ceremony was chaired by the Director General of ADDS, Mahdi Mohammed, and was attended by representatives of relevant ministries, executives of the mayor, and representative of the 5 regions. The conference room of the National Meteorological Agency hosted the closing ceremony at the awarding of certificate following a training workshop in video conference, which also included an exchange of experience between key actors in the climate-sensitive sector at the national level in the use of climate information is for several sectoral management. Indeed, this workshop, which lasted 3 weeks, aimed to strengthen the capacity of the National Agency of Meteorology and to provide weather and climate product oriented to observer and forecasting engineers. This workshop was attended by the Director General of the National Agency, Mohammed Ismail Noor, and the close collaborators of the TICA and the senior staffs of this noble agency. Of particular attention is following the delivery of the certificate. The event was closed by the traditional family photo. On 3 June 2022, soldiers of the Obok Inter-Armies Regiment intercept about carrying illegal immigrants at the Mulhule in the Dumera areas. These stowaways coming from Yemen were on their way to the national territory. Following the information is obtained, the Riau Regiment, whose mission is the security and control of their sector of activity, planned a large-scale operation. To this end, the naval means of the National Navy stationed in Mulhule and the Coast Guard of the Qorangar were mobilized after a consultation meeting between men in uniform. The operations of control of the sea from fronts along Rasbir was triggered, resulting in the interceptions of the 2 suspects. The operations was conducted under the good conditions. The 2 suspects were transferred to the Obok Gendarmerie Brigade for further investigation. And to close up this edition, North Korea launched 8 ballistic missiles in the waters of its eastern coast today, after 3 days of joint military exercises by U.S. and South Korean militaries. Our military detected the launch of 8 short-range ballistic missiles from the Sanan areas in Pyongyang toward the East Sea. The South Korean General Staff said, referring to the Sea of Japan, North Korea is under several United Nations sanctions for its missiles and nuclear weapons program. The new launches come after 3 days of large-scale exercises by U.S. and South Korean military involving the U.S. Ronald Reagan's 100,000 ton of nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. This is the 8th missiles launched by the North Korea this year, and also 2/3 of the POK President Yoon Sun took offices in May 10. The presidential offices confirmed that a meeting of the National Security Council would be convened to discuss the issue. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.